So forma of balance sheet, and we have some peculiar items which are very essential in preparing the um, final accounts for the non-trading concern. So for the preparation of balance sheet, capital fund opening balance, and we have to add the surplus which is derived from the income and expenditure account, or deficit if any, we have to deduct it, and we have to add to that capital fund that capitalized income, so which are legacies, entrance fee, life membership fee. So, and another peculiar item is special fund or donation or prize fund or reserve fund. So if any previous balance is there, we have to add the receipts during the period, and we have to add the income earned on fund, like interest on donation, interest on prize fund. So if any expenditure we meet with that fund, so such expenditure we have to deduct it from this fund under liabilities. So likewise, we have to do the assets and stocks of consumable items. So with this small description, I am moving to illustration 4. From the following receipts and payments account and the additional information related to the excellent cricket club, prepare income and expenditure account and balance sheet for the year ended March 31st, 2007. So for the year ending March 31st, 2007. So the information in the receipts and payment account, as well as um, assets at the beginning of the year, and some adjustments. So donations and surplus on account of tournament are to be kept in reserve for the permanent pavilion, and subscription due during end of the year, end of the current year 2007, so that is 42,000, and write off 50% of sports material and 30% of printing and stationery. So printing and stationery, so it is mentioned as an asset in the beginning. Sports materials, it is also an asset. So if they give assets at the beginning, it doesn't mean we have to prepare opening balance sheet to find the capital fund, and then we have to prepare income and expenditure account, and then closing balance sheet. So for the preparation of a opening balance sheet, so we have to make a note of it. Since the opening balance of capital fund is not given, we have to prepare opening balance sheet. So we'll take the amounts from the problem. So playground, cash in hand, and stock of sports material, printing and stationery, and subscriptions received. Sorry, subscriptions receivable, 28,000. Receivable in the beginning, in the sense it is related to the previous year. So It is the final balance on March 31st, 2006. And it is the opening balance for the 2007. So, cash in hand, opening balance. See, in the receipts and payment account, we have opening balance of cash, that is 18,000, and the same here it is mentioned again. So, and see, we have the opening balance of bank overdraft in the beginning, that is 16,000. So, it is a liability. Bank overdraft 16,000. So, total all opening balances are over. 6 lakhs 42,000. 6 lakhs 42,000. So the balancing figure is 6 lakhs 26,000. You can name it as capital fund. So capital fund. So this capital fund will appear in the balance sheet, and we will add the surplus uh, which is derived from the income and expenditures account. So we have to prepare the income and expenditure account. So balance, we already took it. So upkeep of field and pavilion. So upkeep in the sense maintenance of field. So next, tournament expenses, we have an adjustment that these tournament expenses. So we have subscription for tournament and we have expenses. The balance amount, what they mentioned is we have to maintain a reserve for the permanent pavilion. So surplus on account of tournament. So we already have the adjustment over here for the tournament expenses and donations. And these donations are particularly for special purpose of a permanent pavilion. In the sense, we have to mention it in the liability side of the balance sheet. So next item in the payment side, rates and insurance, telephone and postages, printing and stationery, miscellaneous expenses, secretary honorarium, grass seeds. Okay, so these are the other expenses. So I'm considering these other expenses in the expenses side. But here we have an adjustment for the printing and stationery. So for the time being, I'm just highlighting it. So is there any other item? Purchase of sports material. We have an adjustment for this as well. So investments. So we do not have any instruction about investment that we have to calculate the interest on investments. So no need to calculate the interest. So then expenditure side, purchase of sports material. Actually, we don't mention this. See, so another. So I'm coming to the receipt side. Member subscriptions. So subscriptions are the major sources for the clubs. These are the major revenue sources. But we have an adjustment for this. And members admission fee. So this members admission fee, we have to make a note that we have to consider it, whether we have to consider it as a receipt, revenue receipt item, or whether we have to consider it as a capital receipt item. It depends. If we consider this as a revenue receipt item, we have to mention in a note. I assume that members admission fee is revenue receipt. If you are assuming this one is as a capital receipt, you have to mention this admission fee in the balance sheet. So this admission fee I am assuming as revenue receipt, and I just mentioned a note, and I mentioned the amount in the income side of the income and expenditure statement. So next, sale of old sports material. This is a revenue item. It is nothing but a sale of a scrap. So it is an income. So why it is an income? Because every time sports material waste is, they will sell it. So hire of ground. So as it is a club, they will generate revenues by giving um, their grounds on rental basis. So it is recurring nature. So subscription for tournament, life membership, and donations. So we have already an adjustment that we have to consider this subscription for tournament as a reserve, and by nature life membership fee is also a capital receipt. So once in a lifetime of a member, he will pay the membership fee. That's why it is a non-recurring nature, and we have to consider this as capital receipt. So donations, if nothing mentioned, like if they mention only donations, we'll consider it as a general donation, and we'll consider this as a income. But they mention that these donations are belongs to permanent pavilion. So they mention in the adjustments, so that we have to consider these donations as a special purpose donation, and we have to shift it to the liabilities side of the balance sheet. So these three are belongs to the balance sheet. Okay. So we have some adjustments relating to the profit and income and expenditure account. So first one, printing and stationery. So printing and stationery, we have an opening balance in the opening balance, asset opening balances. So printing and stationery, 11,000 in the beginning of the year. So purchases during the year, purchases are 26,000. So it is mentioned in the receipts and payments account. So available for use, 37,000 is the available for use. So out of 37,000, 30%, as mentioned in the adjustment, 30%, 30% of printing and stationery we have to write it off, and 50% of the sports material. So 30% of 37,000 is 11,100, and this printing and stationery written off, written off in the sense we are deducting the value, we used it, we consumed that property, so that it is a loss. It is nothing but a written off depreciation, kind of non-cash expenditures. So it is a loss. That's why we mentioned in the expenditure. And sports material written off. Sports material written off. So how much is the sports material? In the opening balance sheet, 85,000, 85,000, and purchases during the year. So we will find this in the payment side. So 68,000. So 68,000. So available for consumption during the year is 1,53,000. So 50% we have to return off, that is 76,500, and the remaining 76,500 we have to mention as a closing balance of the asset in the final balance sheet. Okay, closing balance of the so sports material written off how much? 76,500. So 76,500. So we have another one, members subscription. So members subscription during the year we received 2,50,000 as a members subscription. See, we have subscription for a tournament. It is meant for tournament, but it is meant for members. So we need to be very careful. Member subscription 2,50,000. So 2,50,000. I think I have working note. See, during the year 2,50,000. See, add outstanding subscription during the year which is related to the 2007, in the sense it is an outstanding at the end. So if subscription outstanding in the beginning, in the sense yet to receive in the beginning, see this one, subscription receivable yet to receive in the beginning, in the sense yet to receive, in the sense it is related to 2006, and finally we mentioned in the end of 2006, which is the beginning of 2007. So it is related to 28,000 is related to beginning, but due on 2007 at the end. 42,000. It is related to 2007. So current year due is 42,000. Previous year due is 28,000. So it comes around 2 lakh 92,000. Out of 2 lakh 92,000, we have to deduct the previous year balance so that we'll find the subscription during the year. So it is amounted to 2 lakh 64,000. So we have to mention 2 lakh 64,000 received during the year, which is relating to the current year. Okay, we have alignment problem. So mm, so I think all items covered in the income and expenditure account. See, we'll cross check it. Upkeep of field, we mentioned it in the expenses side. Tournament expenses, balance sheet related. Rates and insurance, income and expenditure. Telephone expenses, postage expenses, printing and stationery written off, I mentioned in the expenses. Miscellaneous expenses considered. Secretary, honorarium, it is an expenses. Grass seeds, expenses. Investments, it is an asset. We have to mention it in the asset side. Purchase of sports material, so written off, we mention in the expenses side. So members subscription, mentioned in the income. Admission fee, income. So income, sale of old sports material, income. Hire of ground, income. So these three are related to the balance sheet. So all done. So written off, we mentioned, and the subscription mentioned. So these are related to the balance sheet. So finally, all items are covered in the income and expenditure account. So this amounts to 3 lakhs 9,500. So the balancing figure is 52,400. So we'll call it as surplus or excess of income over expense. So this is the income and expenditure account. So we will prepare final balance sheet. The balance sheet of Excellent Cricket Club as on March 31st, 2007. So we'll take the items from the opening balance sheet so that it is very easy to make it fast. So playground, we do not have anything adjustments so that we can take the exact amount 5 lakhs. There is no need to change. So 5 lakhs. And then cash in hand. We have closing balance of cash in hand in the receipts and payment account, that is 74,000. So that is 74,000. So stock of sports material. After writing of sports material, we have a balance of 76,500. See, sports material. So closing balance we found 76,500. So 76,500. Printing and stationery. After deducting the 30% of written off, we already work out here. It's 25,900. So we did work out 25,900. Subscriptions receivable. Receivable, I'll change the name, outstanding at the end of 2007. So how much is 42,000? So it is 42,000. It is mentioned in the adjustments. So subscription due at the end 42,000. So outstanding receipts, and we have another asset that is mentioned in the receipts and payment. We invested 6 lakhs rupees. So investments 6 lakhs. So another asset 6 lakhs. Okay. So coming to the liabilities, so members admission fee, we took it as a receipt. Sale of old sports material, we take it as a receipt. Higher ground, okay. Subscription for tournament. So subscription for tournament, we received subscription for tournament and we incurred expenses, so that the surplus amount still mentioned in the working notice. Subscription, okay. So as it is mentioned in the adjustment, so donations and surplus of account of tournament, both are to be kept in reserve. So special fund, reserve. So subscription for tournament, it is 60,000, and tournament expenses, these are 40,000. So surplus is 20,000, and donations are 6 lakhs. So donations are 6 lakhs. So total reserve fund 6 lakhs 20,000. So 6 lakhs 20,000 is the reserve fund or special fund. So we'll mention here reserve fund or permanent pavilion fund, that is 6 lakhs 20,000. So we have already capital fund calculated in the opening balance sheet, that is 6 lakhs 26,000. So 6 lakhs 26,000. Add surplus. Surplus, which is from income and expenditure count. So surplus is 52,400. Surplus is 52,400. So we have some more items. So add, we have to add life membership fee. So in the balance sheet pro forma, it is already mentioned capitalized items, legacies, entrance fee, life membership fee. We have to add it to the capital fund. So in the given problem, life membership fee is 20,000. So we already mentioned the subscription for tournament and donations. So life membership is 20,000. $20,000. So it comes around 6 lakhs 98,400. So final amount should be tallied. So 13 lakhs 18,400, and here also 13 lakhs 18,400. So this is how we have to prepare income and expenditure account as well as balance sheet.